Thanks for tuning in to our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an Amazon FBA business in the toys and games niche. Created in July 2011, this business makes $9,181 per month in net profit. The listing number for this site is 40720. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. Now, we've got the seller with us today to go through the business and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Rust.
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's glad to have you here, man. Before we dive into the questions here, just for the listeners out there who aren't familiar with the summary of the business, just a quick summary of it is, as I mentioned, built in July 2011 with a monthly revenue of $62,493, expenses of $53,312, and a net profit of $9,181. And that is over a 12-month average. And with the sale of this business, obviously it'll include all the Amazon listings and products, as well as the domain. So just to give our listeners out there a brief background on you, Russ, tell us just a little bit about your background in building and running an online business.
Sure. So my background, I'm a mechanical engineer and had been a long-time Prime user. Kept hearing about FBA. And so a little over 5 years ago, decided to dip my toes in the water, something for some extra beer money. And I got started with online and retail arbitrage and started growing. And I quickly ran into an issue where I did not have sustainability of product. So I might go find a really good product, buy the store completely out of them. Then once it's sold out, it was sold out. And, looking at what other people were doing at the time, I did not want to spend my days driving around town going from, Walmart to Walmart or Toys R Us. So I started learning about wholesale sourcing and kind of quickly moved into the realm of buying from wholesale suppliers. And, that's the point we're at now. We've got relationships with about 90 to 100 wholesale suppliers. And from that, we've got about 20 key vendors who we purchase, from very strongly.
Cool, man. So you started off doing a little bit of retail arbitrage. I got to ask you, how was that, by the way? It seems like that'd be such a pain. Like you said,
it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It was a really good way to learn the Amazon system because, quite frankly, I think if I'd got into it straight with wholesale selling without kind of learning, because this was my first kind of foray into business, it let me kind of make mistakes on a smaller level and kind of learn how this business worked. But I'm telling you, I got out of that within probably 4 months of starting Amazon. So,
yeah, I could see that being like a good training wheels to get yourself adjusted. Definitely saves you from the nightmare of having like $20,000 of product in your house or something like that, right? But
yeah, and you're exactly on point with that. My biggest frustration was you'd find something that sold really, really well, you made a really good ROI on, and then you couldn't find it anymore. And I'm like, you can't grow, a business that way with an unsustainable supply chain.
Absolutely. Now, the idea for this business, for your wholesale business, did this come from your arbitrage days, or was this something you kind of thought up outside of what you had previously been selling?
So my background, I did technical B2B sales and I actually worked for a wholesale supplier. So I was familiar with the way that the wholesale game worked, but I was actually just kind of a little afraid of just reaching out to a wholesaler and having them say no, because at that point I wasn't sure what sales tax certificates and EINs and bank references. So I just kind of dipped my toe in the water and said, I'm just going to do this, and just started contacting wholesalers, and they didn't say no. And that was a little addictive. And so got some confidence and just, kept calling and going to trade shows and, just finding suppliers. And, now we've got some suppliers that we've worked with for years and years, and I've, bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory from them. So it's just a very interesting transition from retail arbitrage.
Yeah, I bet. So you already had the idea for the kind of products you wanted to sell when you were approaching these wholesalers then?
Well, that's actually an interesting question. So I like stock trading and investing a lot. So I think about my Amazon store as a portfolio. And, you see these people doing, private label garlic presses. Everyone's ripping off, white label stuff. People are doing retail arbitrage. I don't really see that as like long-term sustainability, especially with Amazon starting to rip off, private label people with their Amazon Basics line.
Yeah.
So what I did is you've got a lot of different categories to sell on. And fortunately, because of the age of our account, we're approved for a lot of categories that other sellers, will be banging their head against the wall to try to get ungated for. So we look at all sorts of different types of suppliers to work with. We've had a lot of luck with kind of toys and arts and crafts, sporting goods, home gifts, tools and hardware. We just try to look at right now what's got good, solid, consistent buy box prices, which products have really nice sales ranks that, aren't growing to ridiculously high levels. And that's kind of what we focus on as we look at our inventory blend as a portfolio and just try to diversify across as many Amazon categories as it makes sense to do.
I like that. I like the analogy of it being kind of like a mutual fund almost of, seeing which one works and which one doesn't. Now, the business is obviously pretty successful. I mean, you're making a pretty healthy cash flow here. Why are you selling the business? Why not keep it and grow it?
So through a mutual relationship, late last year, I got introduced to a company that runs clinical research trials. And they had heard that I was the guy that, grew this Amazon business pretty quickly. And they were interested in having us create clinical research supply kits to send to all of their patients. And I very stupidly agreed to do this. And so I kind of kicked that off spring of this year. And I'm to the point now where I'm sending out thousands of clinical supply kits, and I just have no time to do anything. And this has kind of become my passion, because what I'm doing right now with this business is really improving the lives of people that are suffering from cancer. And I get to play it's a small role, but I get to kind of play a role in helping those people. And so the Amazon business decreased our inventory. We normally keep around $60,000 to $70,000 worth of inventory in stock, and I've kind of slowly let that drop. So it's in the 30s to 40s where it is right now.
Okay, so you want to sell the business and focus more on this clinical trials side business of yours, or I guess full business now?
Correct.
Very cool, man. I like that. It's a good reason to sell. One thing we usually we look at sellers, and when they ask, like, well, when's a good time to sell? One of the best times to sell is when you simply don't have any time to nurture the old one anymore,
Yeah, or time to sleep or eat.
That's also a good point. Yeah, definitely important for life. So when you first started this business, I know you began as retail arbitrage, but when you first started the wholesale side of it, what was the trajectory of the business? So those first few weeks and months, did you see customers coming in pretty quickly, or was it a slow build?
It's always been a slow build. I like to think that the approach that I'm taking is a little bit different than the approach that most Amazon sellers take. We don't do any marketing or advertising. I squarely look at sourcing products, from our vendor price lists, and we've got over really 100,000 different products that we could purchase from at any given time, given all the price lists that we got to play with. I want to grow slowly. I don't want to grow too quickly. I don't want to be the guy that invests in a container load of widgets and then all of a sudden, someone rips off that brand and now I'm stuck and I'm getting hit with, long-term storage fees. I look at products that are really between a sales rank of 10,000 and 150,000 consistently. That's going to vary from category to category. I always do a test order, and I'm looking to build a portfolio, and it takes time to build a portfolio that provides consistent results. I'm not looking at having spikes or trying to go all in and make all of our profit during the holiday season.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you heard, but Amazon made that announcement where basically they're not allowing anyone new to come into their Amazon Sellers program until after the new year, because there is, like you said, those people that'll just come in and huck things for the holiday.
Yeah.
Get in, get out, sell some crappy knockoffs and call it good.
Yeah, and I think there really is value to buying an Amazon store that's been around for a while. I'm very proud of the fact that we've got like over 4,200 ratings. We've got 100% feedback. We've never gotten one negative feedback that's stuck. We have like 13 neutral feedbacks, after 5 years. And I think a lot of that comes from working with wholesalers who sell branded high quality products and, not trying to just make a quick buck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a huge testament to your business success. No negative reviews on the internet. I mean, how is that even possible? So, what have you tried in this business over the last few years? So, like one lesson that you've learned that just really worked well for you?
I think my biggest thing is every time I look at creating an order, I ask myself, am I ordering too much or am I ordering too little? It's really easy, and I've made this mistake in the past, where you'll get a product, you do a test order, sells really, really well. You make another order, that sells really, really well. So at that point, you're like, well, how many days of cover do I want for this product? And you get a little bit too aggressive and you maybe buy 500 when you should have bought 250. And then you've got that product hanging out there for, 180 days. My goal is to, have regularly turning inventory. So I've really kind of tuned my buying to be less aggressive and just kind of try to keep that, averaging 4 turns or so, 4 to 6 turns per year for our inventory.
4 to 6 turns, that means one turn is like completely all inventory is sold and replaced by new inventory. Is that correct?
Correct.
Cool. And what have you tried that didn't work? Anything that stands out?
We ran into an issue a couple years ago where we had a product that was selling really, really well. And it was a Halloween product. And we were just completely dominating this listing. And I went in and I purchased 2,000 of these things in September, and very confident that we could sell through them all. And then we had another Amazon seller who I guess wanted to kick us off that listing, who said, hey, this is a counterfeit product. And so consequently, that got us kicked off the listing. Took about a month and a half to get that completely figured out on Amazon side. And I was not terribly happy because the seller performance team, was not terrifically helpful. And we lost a month and a half of sales on that product. And the lesson there was, even though we were purchasing from the manufacturer, even though we had proof of invoices and everything, it was a non-UPC'd product. And so from that point forward, I've made the decision that everything that we buy comes with a manufacturer UPC code, and we, make sure that every time we list, what we're listing that matches, and that's really helped prevent that problem. So that's one thing that I've not budged on at all since we kind of went through that.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that would be kind of an example what you were just talking about before with the aggressive purchasing of stock. Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. That was kind of a learning lesson. Amazon's gotten a lot more stringent with product requirements, which is something that I appreciate. But at the same time, anyone that's had to deal with the seller performance team, they're kind of a black hole of customer service. So just by being very, very careful, we've had a lot more success. Being careful and, metering how much we're buying.
That makes sense. And when it comes to traffic, are you doing any kind of promotion? I know you said you're not advertising at all, but are you just relying basically on Amazon organic search traffic then, or do you have any other method? Oh, you are? Okay.
100% on Amazon organic search traffic. So no marketing at all. That's one of the benefits, I think, of taking kind of a portfolio approach, is if you're buying branded products that have really good reviews on them, consistent sales ranks, not a lot of competition, there's no need to really advertise.
Nice. You also have a domain, right? Is that website for one?
Go ahead. We do have a domain. that domain has been used as kind of wholesale bait. It's actually an Amazon affiliate store that looks like an actual online retail store. And we
awesome.
we use that. We could list products on it if we wanted to. I've never monetized it. We don't make any money off of it, but it's a nice property to show wholesalers. And that's part of the conversation. We don't actively tell people that we sell on Amazon, but if they ask, I'm always truthful about it. But I've just found that's kind of helped us get some relationships that we might not have if we did not have, an extra domain.
It's pretty cool. It's a smart strategy too, and definitely for someone who's familiar with the Amazon affiliate game, something they can probably make a pretty penny on once they get it going.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've done nothing. That's there in case someone wants to look at it. So yeah, I've not done anything trying to monetize that.
Now, as far as earning type goes, do you find that the majority of your sales, I'm assuming this isn't going to be the case, but are you finding the majority of your sales is coming from one type of product or kind of spread out over all your other products?
It's spread out. I've got one product in particular that is a toy product that's a very good honey hole that sells, couple hundred easily a month, even in the worst times of year. And then kind of from October through December, selling close to 700, 800 a month. But I really try to shy away from that. I want things that move consistently. I don't really want, a bunch of those type products because you tend to make less money, smaller ROI on those.
Right. As far as, your products go, how many products do you currently have?
Currently, I believe we're selling on about 400, 500 SKUs. I need to check. I can tell you that in the past 30 days, we've sold products from about 46 of our wholesale vendors.
Interesting. And are earnings pretty stable, or like that honey hole, do you have some seasonality in there?
I mean, there's a little seasonality. Normally, January's always not as great as the holidays, but it's fairly consistent for us. To give you an idea, right now in stock, we've got about 7,000 items. That number has probably been cut drastically since the summertime when I just started focusing on the other business.
For your sourcing for your products, are you sourcing mainly from Asian factories or from here in America, or where are you doing that from?
Everything that we do, we really try, and 100% of our vendors right now are U.S. based. One reason for that is I'm not going after container shipments. I might buy a couple hundred of an item at one time. It depends on how many days of inventory I want to keep for that. But we found that working with U.S. based distributors and consistently, or we pay up front with cash every time we pay, which allows us to get, pretty good discounts on products and freight. It helps kind of our buying cycles as well. And whoever buys a store, they might want to change that. But, I try to target 60 to 90 days of cover, as opposed to if you're buying from overseas, you probably need to budget for, 180 days to a year to make sense for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So since most of your product is sourced within America, and I'm assuming you're only selling to the American market, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So is your product, I'm assuming, all flown into the distribution factory or distribution warehouse with Amazon, or is it trucked in?
It's all shipped in UPS. Right now I'm actually processing all of this inventory just because I've got a place to work out of because of the clinical supply kit business. But there's no reason that someone couldn't, use one of the outsourced, prep services to do that function.
As moving into kind of the opportunities of this business, let's pretend that you wanted to keep this business and you wanted to grow it. What would be the least risky path that you would focus on to grow this business?
I think it would be, running through price lists, looking at data for the products that I've got availability to buy now, and then just kind of, continuing to add wholesalers, continuing to constantly evaluate opportunities. Truth be told, I've not added zero new products in the past 6 months. The past 6 months have just kind of been sustaining the SKUs that I've got in stock as I build this other business. That being said, go out and get new wholesalers, look at the options you have right now in the price lists. It really depends on your ability to purchase and, what your risk model is going to be for the inventory portfolio.
And what would you do if you were incredibly risky and you wanted to just grow the business as quickly as possible?
I'd probably lower my minimum ROI that I set from a purchasing standpoint, and I would probably lower my sales rank number that I shoot at, and probably look at things that are closer to being in the single digit thousands and just buy aggressively from our wholesalers.
Interesting. Moving into the actual risk here, for the buyer that is looking at this business, what do you think the biggest risk is for them in buying an Amazon FBA business like this?
I think the biggest risk is complacency. Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen in the past couple months. Our, revenue has gone down. Our profits dipped a little bit. That's because I've just been maintaining. I've been consistent. Going back to the portfolio metaphor that I keep hammering on, if you're not constantly diversifying your portfolio based upon market conditions, you're going to suffer. If you're not constantly bringing in new stock and adding to stock, kind of like we've done, you're going to suffer. The biggest risk is just if you buy this store and you just kind of keep maintaining $30,000 to $40,000 of inventory at any given time, as opposed to, taking that inventory amount and actively trying to push it. That's how you make more money in this business, is more inventory across more SKUs.
Now, can you describe what you're doing to maintain this business? Like, what does your weekly or monthly schedule look like in maintaining this business?
Couple hours a week, 5 to 7 hours a week, putting together orders, and then I have my bookkeeper places those orders and does all the accounting on it. And then most of the time it's hand in box time, receiving shipments, packing them up in case packs, sending them to Amazon. I really kind of have seen the light. I was a little worried about using prepping services in the past, just because I have a very high standard of quality control. You look at our Seller Central health report, and you can see we don't have problems. My store doesn't have problems. So I've been really hesitant to kind of give that over to a prep service. But kind of looking back, I wish I would have done that about a year ago.
And by prep service, for those out there maybe not familiar with Amazon FBA, could you describe briefly what a prep service is?
Yeah, prep service, and there's bunches of them. What they do is you make order from your wholesale vendor. You get things shipped to the location of the prepper. They receive your inventory. They check it for damage, and then they'll do all the stickering and packing and, bundling and send everything into Amazon for you. So it allows you to really focus on really the financial aspects of your store, purchasing, credit risk, inventory spend, and kind of outsources the entire hand in box time to a third party. So
excellent. And what skills or requirements would you suggest for someone looking at buying this business? Like, what do you think they should be able to do before purchasing the business?
I think you should be someone that's pretty good with numbers. I see a lot of sellers on Amazon, a lot of the competitors. They're just not good at math. A lot of people lose money consistently. Awesome. And so, if you're careful about how the type of repricer that you use, how you set your repricer mins and maxes, using services like SyncCentric to run reports on opportunities, I'd say that you really need to have a pretty analytical mind to do good in Amazon e-commerce, as opposed to kind of like, a gift store. You kind of buy more on feeling with that. With Amazon, I would say, you need to buy based upon the numbers. You need to be good with numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers tell the entire story. Moving into some of these wrap-up questions, would you be willing to sign a non-compete? Just something that says, hey, look, I'm not looking to build this exact same business after you buy it from me?
Definitely. I would look forward to signing a non-compete.
I figured that wasn't going to be an issue for you. How much support would you be willing to offer a buyer?
So here's the thing. This has been the baby that I've grown up with, and the thing that I've spent a lot of time on. I want the right person to buy this. It would just break my heart to sell this to someone who just decides to use this as a venue for private label garlic presses. I really want to see someone take the work that I've done and make it even better. That being said, a month after the sale, or a month, I guess, 30 days after the sale, provide, as much handholding and support as we can. And then a month, every month for 6 months after the sale date, be available for an hour call every month to, talk about strategy, roadblocks, growth. I really want to be as hands-on as possible with the buyer to kind of tell them, how I've done it, how I've gotten it to this point.
Now, would you be at all open to a split or an earn-out? Say, like, obviously the best case scenario here is for someone to come in and buys your business at full list price. It's best for you, best for Empire Flippers. But let's say someone came in like, hey, look, I'll give you 70% up front and 30% after that month of training. Would that be something you'd be open to at all?
Yeah, we'd be open to something like that.
Awesome, cool. Before I give you my final question here, Russ, my hot seat question, just to give you a reminder who are listening out there, a quick recap of the business. This business was built in July 2011, has a monthly revenue of $62,493. The expenses are sitting at $53,312 with a total net profit of $9,181. And with the sale of this business, we will obviously include all the Amazon listings and products as well as the domain that we talked about. So, Russ, my final question for you is, what is your best pitch in 30 seconds or less on why someone should purchase this business?
Okay, that's a good hot seat question.
What can I say?
my pitch is that of all the Amazon businesses out there, you're going to be hard pressed to find one that provides as much stability as the one we have right now. This business has been built upon consistent principles, customer feedback above all else. And, our rating shows that. And, building relationships with wholesale suppliers and a consistent supply chain. If you're interested in a business that can grow really quickly and consistently and mitigating as much risk as you really possibly can in the Amazon FBA marketplace, you would be hard pressed to find one better than the one I've got listed.
Excellent. I think that's a great answer to my hot seat question. So for those out there watching this on YouTube and you want more information about this business, the link will be below this video and will take you to our marketplace listing. If you're watching this on the actual listing page and you want more information, you can become a depositor today. It's super easy. All you have to do is click the button, make a deposit, and you'll be given everything you need to review this business. So Russ, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was an absolute pleasure.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it.